Good afternoon, and here we are on the second part of topic 12. We're going to talk about group decision making. Now, I do research in decision making, but my research is almost all in individual decision making. But I find that very much of what I study in individual decision making is relevant to group decision making, though admittedly I'm not nearly as much of an expert on this stuff. But you find that the biases and the things that influence the individual can also influence the group. But let's move into some more relevant to IO psychology questions. Okay, so here's a cute little story. A man bought a horse for $60 and sold it again for 70. Then he bought it back for 80 and sold it again for 90. How much money did he make in the horse business? When asked this question, 45% of college students get the correct answer. Okay? But students that work in a group without an assigned leader got 72% correct, and those that worked in a group where somebody was assigned to be the leader, 84% correct. And so, by the way, the answer is $20, okay? And people look at it and like, okay, he bought it for 60 and sold it for 70. He made $10, but then he bought it back for 80. He lost $10. So wait a minute, now he's down 10, and people get so confused. And it's like, okay, listen, how about I'll be your group leader today? Think about this. Pretend it's two different horses. A man bought a horse for 60 and sold it for 70, makes $10. A man buys a second horse for $80 and sells it for 90, and he made $10. How does it matter if it's the same horse or two different horses? It's two different sales, okay? So, in other words, working together as a group, people were better. As a rule, in all kinds of cases where group judgments have been used, almost always what happens is the group response was better than the average individual, but less than the highest performing individual. Okay, so that's kind of critical stuff. Effective group decision making has 5 steps, which are sort of summarized on this table, but it's really too small for me, so I'm going to have to break it apart here. First, effective group decision making diagnoses a problem. Yeah, it's really hard to solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is, right? You got to know the goal of the group. You need to know the steps. You need to know the elements of the problem, etc. In the second stage, potential solutions get generated, where you talk among yourselves to identify solutions. Perhaps brainstorming may work here. I'll describe brainstorming 2 slides up because it's very fascinating. It's something in and of itself a useful thing. So after you've come up with some possible solutions, you got to evaluate them. Take a critical look at them, look at the solutions. Is there unintended consequences of this? Let's weigh and balance the costs and the benefits of these different solutions. Then the group needs to commit to an alternative and choose a solution. Perhaps you will make a delegate a leader, and the leader picks a solution, or you'll have a vote, or have a majority, or most people, or something of this nature. And then finally, you need to have a specific plan of action and then actually implement the group's decision. So the decision making, an effective group decision making process isn't over until the actual thing has been implemented. Brainstorming, by the way, is this idea of everybody just throwing out ideas no matter how crazy they are, trying not to be critical of other members. But of course, with brainstorming, because we know how norms work, right? Remember your descriptive norms. And so all of a sudden, if somebody comes up with a radically weird solution, I want to give you a secret. 90% of the time, radically weird solutions are wrong, but once in a while, they're not wrong. So we need to listen to these radically weird solutions. Yeah, well, but electronic brainstorming, providing for, through anonymous surveys or whatnot, can reduce the blocking that can happen as people monitor and edit themselves. Well, I want to talk very briefly about a classic study in group decision making. This is at the bottom here. Muzaffar Sharif. He was a old-time social psychologist, and what he did was um, it was a summer camp, and boys were going to go to summer camp, and as they were getting on the bus, he just randomly assigned them to be rattlers or grizzlies. I think that was the two teams. You're a rattler, you're a grizzly. You're a rattler, you're a grizzly. It was amazing. Just by being given these labels, these boys identified so strongly with grizzly and rattler that they just had ultimate loyalty to these groups, even though it was just randomly assigned as they stepped on the bus. And as the summer progressed, Muzaffar Sharif put together a series of competitions, baseball game and things like this. And man, these kids hated each other. But then what happened was at one point he set up what he called superordinate goals. And so what happens is these superordinate goals are goals that overarch both groups. So he set it up where the bus broke down, and the only way to solve it was all the boys together getting out together, no matter which group you're in, and pushing. And he created a superordinate goal like the camp water supply stopped working, and so the only way to do it was to make like a bucket brigade. Every kid in camp had to participate. And when he created these superordinate goals, all of a sudden the group was it turned them into us. So there is research in effective group decision making, but most research is unfortunately, and it's the same thing with individual decision making, ineffective, mistakes that are made. So process lost is, here's a definition. Any non-motivational element of group performance group situations that detracts from group performance. Whew. And this could be, again, somebody getting caught up in descriptive norms, and they're afraid to say things and things of this nature. They're motivated to solve, but they're afraid to say things. So actual productivity is a result of potential minus losses due to process loss. Okay, so it's a thing to consider. There's a lot of reasons that get ineffective. Groups are notoriously bad at sharing information. You've got shared information, which is, of course, that thing that every group member shares, but there's unshared information that some members have that other members don't. And again, I find this when we get on the faculty committees. When I'm on faculty committees, you're in there with people with a variety of experiences from a variety of departments, and you're trying to talk about how to implement a solution or something, but you don't know what's going on over in the College of Business or the College of Education. How would I know these things? That's what they know. And often they don't tell those things, and then later on we find, the results of this faculty committee interfere with the goals of their college. I'm like, how would I know that? Isn't it my college? It is. That's why there's supposed to be representation from each and every college on each and every faculty committee. Okay, that's why we're there. Groupthink is one that's been very well studied. A mode of thinking that individuals engage when, again, when you have high cohesiveness in a group in particular, it gets, there you go, cohesive. And so what happens is that alternatives do not get realistic appraisal. This groupthink emerges. When it emerges, you get, cohesion, and if the members are isolated from the larger community, if you get very strong leadership that's very biased, and so it's really quite a powerful thing. You see this in politics very often. Anyway, we're just going to move on from that. But we find that the symptoms of groupthink are these feelings of unanimity. And often when you have groupthink occurring, you have a unanimous vote, but you most certainly don't have unanimity in people's beliefs, okay? Just because somebody voted yes or no to a particular bill doesn't mean they agree with a particular bill. And mind guards are group members that protect the group from outside information. And so often what happens is there's some self-appointed member of the group who will try to keep information out of the group that might change the group, okay? And so groupthink can be incredibly costly. Some of the most major incidents in the world, Pearl Harbor and the Challenger disaster and Watergate. I mean, everybody was working together in these cases, and Somebody knew something. There's no question that somebody, like during the Challenger disaster, that was, of course, a space shuttle that blew up. Somebody knew something was wrong, but nobody said anything because nobody wanted to disrupt the group. Nobody wanted to, and so they would prevent information from the outside experts and things of this nature. It's just a real issue. And so you can perhaps, if you make a conscious effort to, correct misperceptions, de-emphasize. You don't all have to agree. Honestly, some of the simplest solutions of prevention of groupthink is anonymous voting at various stages. Okay, and so we've got a little model of groupthink here, where cohesion and isolation and strong leadership can create these symptoms of groupthink, which ultimately leads to defective decision making because ultimately correct solutions are not implemented. All right, so we got one more presentation for topic 12 on types of groups, and hopefully I'll come back to that in just a handful of minutes, but we'll find out how ambitious I am. See you for now.